Huh? Are you? Oh, I am. Great. Good morning. On behalf of the Ministry of Education, Youth Affairs and Sports, welcome to the best month of the year, Education Month. I hope you didn't think I was going, that deserves that. Good. I hope you didn't think I was going to say March because the best month by name would be October, clearly, right? I am Kareem Nelson Hull, Chief Protocol Officer. To begin our press conference, just like we began Education Month yesterday in the presence of God, let us now welcome Deputy Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Youth Affairs and Sports, Mrs. Pat Blaze Adams, to open in prayer.
Good morning. Let us stand. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you to praise and honor your holy name and to say thank you for allowing us to see not just another day, but another week and another month. You said in your word, where 2 or 3 are gathered in your name, you are there. And as we launch our Education Month, we welcome you into our presence to guide us with clarity, purpose, and unity, so that we can work diligently together as we build a strong foundation for the future-focused educational system of our Virgin Islands. This we pray through your Son, Jesus Christ, and we all say, Amen. Amen.
Please be seated. Thank you, Mrs. Pat Blaze Adams. The territorial song sings, educating our people is the golden key to maintain the success of this territory. In this vein, encouraged by those lyrics, what we used to know as Education Week is now Education Month for the 3rd time in history. Education is taking its rightful place. Before we hear from our Minister of Education, we're pleased to officially acknowledge the Honorable Shari D. Castro, Minister for Education, Youth Affairs and Sports, the Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Youth Affairs and Sports, Mr. Claude Kettle, who's probably joining us via World Wide Web, the Chief Education Officer, Mrs. Orlandette Crabb, Deputy Chief Education Officer, Mrs. Haida Selwood, Director of Youth Affairs and Sports, Mrs. Deborah Hodge, education officers, staff within the ministry, and the most important part of the order of precedence, students, principals, teachers, parents, and all education stakeholders, and that means all of us. Good morning, and it's a pleasure to be with you. Now let's welcome the Minister for Education, Culture, Youth Affairs and Sports, the Honorable Shari D. Castro.
Good morning to the beautiful people of these Virgin Islands. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Today, as we launch Education Month 2026, we affirm a truth that every great nation in history has understood. That truth, that the true wealth of a country is not found in its bank accounts, but in its classrooms. Not in its buildings, but in its people. And people are built through education. Education is not simply a sector of national development. It is the cornerstone upon which every other pillar stands. Every business begins with an educated mind. Every hospital depends on educated professionals. Every industry relies on educated workers. Every government depends on educated citizens. Education is not separate from nation building. Education is nation building. And that is why over the last 3 years, we made a decision as a government and as a people. We made a decision that we would no longer treat education as an obligation. Instead, we would treat it as an investment in our people, an investment in our economy, an investment in our future. And today, the evidence of that decision is everywhere. It is in the classrooms, it is in the opportunities now available to our people, and it is in the confidence that is being restored across this territory. And yes, it is in the numbers. In 2024, the education budget stood at approximately $57 million. In 2025, it increased to 67 million. And in 2026, it now stands at 77 million. A $20 million increase, 35% growth in just 2 budget cycles. Let me repeat that. 35% growth in just 2 budget cycles. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not maintenance. That is transformation. Because you cannot build a future-focused generation with past tense investment. You cannot prepare tomorrow's leaders with yesterday's systems. And so we invested deliberately, strategically, and unapologetically. We invested in infrastructure because our children deserve to learn in environments that reflect their value. We invested in resources because education cannot happen without tools. We invested in teachers because teachers are not just employees. Teachers are architects of the future. And we invested in opportunity by strengthening the H. Laverty Stout Community College because the future economy of the Virgin Islands will be built by Virgin Islanders. And education is how we prepare them. My people, let me speak plainly. Education is not just about children. Education is about the future of this territory. It is about whether our people own businesses or work in businesses owned by others. It is about whether our people lead industries or watch from the sidelines. It is about whether the Virgin Islands thrives or survives. Education determines that outcome. That is why we have aligned education with national development. Because we are not educating for education's sake. We are educating to build the Virgin Islands, to build our economy, to build our workforce, to build our future. And that work begins with building the systems that support education, the infrastructure, the resources, the teachers, and the institutions that prepare our people. And this morning, I want to share with you how we have been building them. If we are building a nation, we must also rebuild the spaces where the nation is educated, because infrastructure matters. And over the past few years, we have taken deliberate steps to rehabilitate and modernize our school facilities. In 2024, we delivered just over $1 million in infrastructure repairs and upgrades across our public schools. But we also recognize that in order to accelerate progress, we had to change our approach. We undertook structural assessments across our school system to understand the true condition of our facilities, to identify long-standing post-hurricane damage, and to determine the level of investment required to properly rehabilitate our schools. Because this was not about patching problems. This was about rebuilding strategically. And that strategy was reflected in our investment. In 2025, we increased infrastructure funding for the renovation of schools to $2.5 million, an increase of approximately $1.5 million over the previous year, more than doubling what we had delivered just 1 year before. And this year, we have gone even further. In 2026, we have allocated $4 million towards school infrastructure in terms of rehabilitation of existing school buildings, an additional increase of $1.5 million, which means that in just 2 years, we have moved from delivering just over $1 million to investing $4 million in our school infrastructure, nearly quadrupling our investment in our schools. Now that deserves a round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, that increase is not accidental. It is intentional, because those structural assessments gave us a clear data-driven roadmap, allowing us to implement a phased rehabilitation program, prioritizing the most critical needs first, including roof repairs, replacement of damaged windows and doors, installation and replacement of air conditioning systems, upgrades to electrical infrastructure, rehabilitation of sewage and drainage systems, installation of backup water systems, installation of backup generator systems and solar infrastructure, construction and rehabilitation of playgrounds and basketball courts, installation of perimeter fencing and campus safety improvements, construction of vending kiosks, and general classroom and campus rehabilitation. Because this work is not cosmetic. It is structural, it is foundational, and it is transformational. And while those investments have supported the rehabilitation of our existing schools, we have also moved beyond rehabilitation into redevelopment. Because there comes a point where you do not simply repair the past, you build the future. And among the proudest symbols of that transformation is the Eslyn Henley Richer Learning Center, a modern, purpose-built special education school designed and constructed specifically to serve students with special needs. Not retrofitted, not adapted, but built intentionally to reflect the future of education. And today it stands as the only purpose-built special education school in the entire OECS region, right here in the Virgin Islands, a declaration that we will lead, not follow, in providing world-class education for all our children. And it is that same vision and that same commitment to reimagine education that is now guiding the rebuilding of the Altes Catliff Primary School. Because just as we did with Eslyn Henley, we undertook a full assessment of our school infrastructure. And in doing so, we saw an opportunity to reimagine what a primary school can and should be, to deliver our first fully modern, purpose-built primary school designed not for yesterday, but for tomorrow, with modern technology-enabled classrooms, resilient future-focused infrastructure, and learning environments designed to support the full development of every child. And I am pleased to say that we are now on our way to breaking ground on the Altes Catliff Primary School before the end of the second quarter of this year. That future-focused investment continues. This year, we have also allocated funding for the design of a new secondary technical school on the eastern end of Tortola, a facility that will expand access, expand opportunity, and support technical and applied learning aligned with the future of our economy. Because education must not only prepare students academically, it must prepare them for life. Because when you build schools, you build students. And when you build students, you build the Virgin Islands. But buildings alone do not educate children. What happens inside those buildings does. And that is why we have made equally historic investments in resourcing our schools. If infrastructure builds the walls of education, then resources bring those walls to life. Because schools cannot function on office supplies alone. And for too long, resourcing our schools meant replenishing basic office supplies. But over the past few years, we made a deliberate shift, a phase shift, an intentional shift, away from simply supplying schools to strategically equipping them, subject by subject, program by program, year by year, and that transformation is visible across this territory. We reinstituted and expanded the systemic purchase of teaching and learning aids across core subject areas. In mathematics and science, we procured updated laboratory equipment, manipulatives, and instructional tools. In technical and vocational education, we upgraded specialized tools aligned to industry standards. In music and the creative arts, we expanded instructional resources. In literacy and language, we strengthened classroom libraries. We invested in classroom furniture, teacher workstations, photocopiers, and printers, ensuring that teachers have the tools they need to teach. Because resources are not an expense, ladies and gentlemen. They are an investment in instructional quality. And modernization required a major investment in information and communication technology. We restored and equipped computer laboratories across all secondary schools in the territory. Across our schools, we deployed 192 new desktop computers and 80 Promethean interactive panels. We introduced immersive, virtual, and augmented reality tools. We upgraded network infrastructure. We modernized PowerSchool and implemented Schoology, allowing us to track student progress, guide intervention, and make data-driven decisions. Because modern education must be guided not by guesswork, but by information. Key stage results now return in 3 months. EPE results in 6 to 8 weeks, which means interventions happen sooner, support happens sooner, and success happens sooner. And today, we are seeing the results. At the primary level, grade 2 literacy proficiency stands at 84%. Grade 6 literacy stands at 86%. At the secondary level, 412 students sat CSEC examinations last year. Our English pass rate reached 97.63%, and we achieved 100% pass rates in 8 subject areas. But ladies and gentlemen, we are also clear-eyed about where our work continues. Mathematics remains a national priority, and while challenges remain, we are seeing real progress. CSEC mathematics performance has improved, increasing from 48% to over 52%. And importantly, while we continue to surpass the regional average and we are moving in the right direction, we are not satisfied. Because our goal is not simply to be better than average, our goal is to be excellent. Which is why we are strengthening mathematics instruction, investing in teacher development, and expanding student support. Because when we strengthen instruction, we strengthen performance. And when we strengthen performance, we strengthen futures. And even as we strengthen our core academic performance, we are also witnessing something equally powerful, a surge in innovation, creativity, and global competitiveness among our students. 457 students across the territory are now engaged in STEAM programs. Robotics enrollment increased by 64%. Robotics pass rates has now reached 100%, and our national robotics team, once ranked 143rd in the world, is now ranked 42nd in the world. Yes. And number 1 in the OECS region, competing globally and proving that Virgin Islands students can compete with anyone, anywhere. And our investment in resources extends beyond technology and traditional academics into the creative and cultural development of our students, because education must develop the whole child, not just the mind, but the talent within them. Through our partnership with the United Jazz Foundation, led by internationally acclaimed Virgin Islands musician, Mr. Dion Parsons, we have invested in the professional development of music educators, equipping them with the new instructional techniques, global exposure, and advanced training. At the same time, we are working strategically to expand access to musical instruments across our secondary schools, ensuring that students not only learn music in the classroom, but have the opportunity to take instruments home, practice, and develop their craft. Because talent cannot grow without tools, and opportunity cannot grow without access. We are also preparing to reopen pathways for our students to attend the world-renowned Interlochen Summer Music Camp, creating opportunities for international exposure, growth, and excellence. And we are building our national student music program, creating pathways for our young musicians to perform nationally, to travel, and to represent the Virgin Islands across the region and beyond. Because when we invest in our students, ladies and gentlemen, we invest in their potential. And when we invest in their potential, we invest in the cultural future of the Virgin Islands. This is what happens when you invest in education. This is what happens when you equip classrooms. This is what happens when you modernize systems, because when you invest in students, you build the Virgin Islands. But ladies and gentlemen, buildings do not teach children. Resources do not teach children. Teachers do. And that is why our greatest investment has been in our people. If we are building a nation, we must build the people who will teach that nation. And that is exactly what we have done. And what I am about to share represents our overall approach over the past few years to rebuilding, strengthening, and securing the teacher pipeline in the Virgin Islands. Not by chance, but by design. Over the past 2 years alone, we created 20 teacher trainee positions, bringing young Virgin Islanders into the profession and placing them on a structured pathway toward full qualification. But we did not stop there. We rebuilt the professional certification pipeline. 11 educators completed the professional certification in teaching at HLSCC. 15 more are currently in training. We strengthen leadership in our schools. 23 school leaders completed the certificate in effective school leadership at HLSCC. 13 more are preparing to step into leadership roles. Through our partnership with the University of the Virgin Islands, 10 teachers completed the certificate in secondary education. And at the same time, we are securing the future of the profession. 27 Virgin Islanders are pursuing their associate degree in education at HLSCC. 14 educators are advancing through the postgraduate diploma in arts integration. And 15 teachers are pursuing their bachelor's degrees in education through our partnership with Walden Universities. Ladies and gentlemen, this means that today, nearly 150 Virgin Islanders are either certified or actively in training to become educators. Every one of these programs represents direct government investment in building our teaching force. In these ministry-funded programs, the government covers the overwhelming majority of the cost, with educators contributing just 10% in some instances, ensuring both national investment and personal commitment to their professional growth. And beyond these programs, through the ministry's structured national scholarships and assistance grants programs, we are supporting additional educators to pursue their bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees, further expanding the strength and leadership of our education system. Ladies and gentlemen, 150 educators, Virgin Islanders, currently pursuing or already certified in training over the last 2 years. I want to speak specifically to this month as we progress, because we are not finished as yet. This month, we will host a national engagement session for educators to connect them directly to government-funded opportunities to upskill in critical shortage areas: special education, technical education, leadership, policy, curriculum support. Because we are not just waiting for the future, we are preparing for it. And we are building specialist capacity, we are building leadership capacity, we are building national capacity. This is one of the most comprehensive teacher workforce investments in our history. We are not just filling vacancies, we are building a pipeline, a sustainable pipeline, a strategic pipeline, but most importantly, a Virgin Islands pipeline. Because when you build teachers, you build classrooms. When you build classrooms, you build students. And when you build students, you build the Virgin Islands. And that pipeline leads directly to one institution, the H. Laverty-Stoutt Community College. If our primary and secondary schools are building the foundation, then the H. Laverty-Stoutt Community College is building the future workforce of the Virgin Islands. And today I want the people of this territory to understand clearly where your college or college stands. Because HLSCC is not simply operating, it is advancing, it is evolving, and it holds a distinction that no other national college in this region holds. It is the only internationally accredited national college in the entire OECS region. Ladies and gentlemen, that distinction belongs to the Virgin Islands. It means that the qualifications on here meet global standards. It means that our students are competing on an international level, and it means that excellence is being built right here at home. That strength is reflected in its growth. Enrollment has increased from 609 students in 2019 to 786 students in 2025, a 29% increase and the highest enrollment in the past 5 years. And through the MAID dual enrollment program, the number of secondary students earning college credits increased from 77 students in 2024 to 149 students in 2025, a 94% increase in just 1 year. These are Virgin Islands students leaving high school already positioned to advance their education and accelerate their future. But today I want to speak personally, because HLSCC is not just the national college. HLSCC is my college. I stand before you as a proud alumna of the H. Laverty-Stoutt Community College. I know firsthand what it represents. I know the doors it opens, and I believe deeply in the dream of the visionary who founded it, that the people of the Virgin Islands should be able to pursue excellence right here at home. It was from that belief that I gave the college a clear mandate to pursue 4-year degree granting status. And today I am proud to announce that we are officially on that path. The Bachelor of Education program has been approved by the College Board and will now be submitted to the Middle States Commission on Higher Education for accreditation review, the necessary step toward offering a full-year teaching degree here in the Virgin Islands. That's a big deal. At the same time, the ministry has been intentionally building the pipeline to support that future. Ladies and gentlemen, the evolution is not just academic. It is physical, it is structural, it is institutional. Since 2019, the college's net assets have grown from 11.6 million to 33.8 million, a 191% increase. Dr. Georges, I'll let you clap for that one. The college has acquired a residential apartment building at Parapeita Bay, creating housing capacity for visiting faculty, Fulbright scholars, and international partners. And the government has funded the design of the college's first purpose-built student dormitory, laying the foundation for a fully residential campus and expanding what HLSCC can offer to future generations. Because strong institutions build strong nations. We are also strengthening training aligned directly with our economy. On March 10th, the college will officially relaunch its internationally recognized maritime certification program, allowing Virgin Islands mariners to train and certify right here at home once again. And later this month, in partnership with the college, we will launch Let's Build VI. Before we had Let's Teach VI. Now we're evolving to Let's Build VI, mobilizing approximately 200,000 in scholarships for maritime training, technical and skilled trade certifications, and new opportunities in hospitality and luxury tourism education. Because building the Virgin Islands required skilled Virgin Islanders. And at the same time, we are expanding opportunities beyond our shores. This work began with articulation agreements already secured last year with Richmond American International University and the New Model Institute of Technology and Engineering in the United Kingdom. Last week, we built on that foundation. During our education mission, we signed new memoranda of understanding with the University of Westminster and the University of Roehampton in the United Kingdom last week. And we signed an additional exchange agreement with Richmond American International University, London, supporting student mobility and staff mobility. But equally important are the high-level negotiations now underway. We held substantive meetings with St. George's University of London, London Metropolitan University, the University of Southampton, Southampton Solent University and its world-renowned Warsash Maritime Academy, University College London, and Sommet Education, the parent institution of Guion Institute of Higher Education and La Roche. These are globally respected institutions, including some of the top-ranked universities in the United Kingdom and the world. And these partnerships are designed to create structured pathways where Virgin Islands students complete their associate degree at HLSCC and enter these universities directly in their third year. Previously, they would have to start from year one or do a foundation year. So this is groundbreaking. It is reducing cost, it is reducing time, and it is expanding opportunity. And while we continue to expand bachelor's degrees here at home in critical areas, we are also clear-eyed about our reality as a small jurisdiction. We must build excellence locally, but we must build partnerships globally. Because these partnerships ensure that Virgin Islanders have access to the highest levels of opportunity, while we continue to strengthen our own national institution. These partnerships, ladies and gentlemen, as I close, are not aspirational. They are active, they are strategic, and they are already opening doors. Because the goal is simple. Our students begin here, they advance there, and they return home ready to build these Virgin Islands. We are building bridges that carry them forward and bring them back stronger. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, HLSCC is not simply growing. It is transforming, and it is helping to build the future of the Virgin Islands. As I close, recently we traveled to Finland, a country that is recognized as having one of the strongest education systems in the world. But what struck us most was not where Finland is today. It was where Finland came from. Because just a few decades ago, Finland made a deliberate decision that the future of their nation would be built through education. They invested in their teachers, they modernized their schools, they aligned education with national development, and over time, education transformed their country. Their economy grew, their people prospered, their nation advanced, not by accident, but by design. And what that reminded us is that something which is deeply important. We do not have to reinvent the wheel. We do not. There are nations that have used education to transform their future already, and we have both the responsibility and the opportunity to learn from them, to build relationships with them, and to scale what works to fit our Virgin Islands context, because our goal is not simply to admire excellence. Our goal is to achieve it. Our goal is to rise to that standard so that the Virgin Islands can become the standard in this region. This Education Month, under the theme Strong Foundation for a Future-Focused Generation, we celebrate how far we have come. But we also recognize how far we must go. Because this is not the end of the journey. This is the beginning of a new era. An era where education drives national development. An era where students are future-focused and student-led. An era where the Virgin Islands builds its future deliberately, strategically, and confidently. Ladies and gentlemen, the future of the Virgin Islands is not somewhere ahead of us. It is sitting in our classrooms today. And together, we will teach them, we will equip them, we will empower them, and together we will build them. And when we build them, they will build the Virgin Islands. May God bless our educators, may God bless our students, and may God continue to bless these beautiful Virgin Islands. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister. In my opening, I inadvertently omitted to acknowledge Dr. Richard Georges, the president of HLSCC. I want you to charge that to my head, not to my heart. That you will let me keep my stingray degree. I was considering a mistake. Hope you understand. We're now going to open the floor for the press. Press members, you're going to use the microphone to my left against the backdrop. Help her to navigate the camera as well, and we'll take your questions whenever you're ready. The panelists will also support the minister in answering those questions. I know it's quite a lot that the minister uploaded there. You can also support the minister and check those facts because they're identical to what we heard in the budget address also at the end of last year. So the minister is consistent with that message. Take the first question from the press. Is it wrong? Yes, go ahead. Go right ahead.
Good morning, Kathy Richards. Happy to see you guys looking so smashing and with a beautiful background. First of all, Minister, I want to say something that we do not oftentimes say, but I think it's very important too, that we have great students in our schools.
Yes.
Just off of that symposium on Friday.
Yes.
The future is awesome for us here.
Yes.
With us students. My first question goes to Dr. Georges. It's always been on my mind why we don't have a dormitory facilities here in the Virgin Islands, and now that we would have heard of the eminent groundbreaking, can you give us some timeline this from groundbreaking to occupancy?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Kathy, for such a soft question to start with. The first thing I'll say is that, just to clarify, the minister announced the funding for the design. So that's where we're proceeding with. The ministry and the college will be meeting shortly with the RDA to advance the RFP process for the design. That's the first step, design and then costing. Following that, we'll know more about going forward. The intervening solution is the acquisition of the apartment building to provide housing support for students coming, whether for academic programs or for short professional courses. I will be able to speak more intelligently following the RFP process in collaboration with the RDA, but the ministry has allocated the funding for the design, which we intend to have completed before the end of this year.
Okay, and one more for you. Would you want to expound a little bit more on the 1-year degree granting status?
4 year.
4 years. 4 years.
Right. So I believe it was last year. The mandate from the Ministry of Education was to pursue and to 4-year status with our accreditor, with education being the first program to be given priority. So we have. We are accredited by the Middle States Commission on Higher Education. It's one of the 6 accrediting bodies recognized by the Department of Education in the United States, and is one of the largest, and I would venture to say, has a very good reputation with respect to the rigor of the accreditation process that they manage. I just want to be clear, what we hold is what you call institutional accreditation, which means every aspect of the college is reviewed and assessed by Middle States in order to receive reaffirmation of accreditation. Right, there are 7 standards. So both include the academic programs, our operations, our governance, every single aspect, our finances and resources, every single aspect of the institution is assessed. All right. So it is both the academic credentials as well as the operations, as well as the board. Everything is assessed. And as the minister mentioned, we are the only institution with international accreditation in the OECS. The other thing I would say is that every major change, therefore, has to go through a process with the accreditor, so that nothing can be fly by night or over, or short shrift. Everything has to be done properly and thoroughly. So there's a process called substantive change, which means we are substantively changing what we do, and we have to go through that process with Middle States. And so part of the process would have been ensuring that our responsible ministry was satisfied, that our board was satisfied, that our internal processes were satisfied with respect to the design of the additional 2 years for a bachelor's degree in education. We will go through that process and hear back from Middle States before June, at which point we'll be able to let you know, in terms of when we will be starting. The other aspect of that is that we would have to do at least one other substantive change, so at least one more bachelor degree program in the next year or 2. And then following that period, we'll be able to, add bachelor degrees without having to go to the accreditor. Because they'll be satisfied that we've been running and administering multiple 4-year programs. And at that point, the Board of Governors will be empowered to offer bachelor degrees.
And any way along that process, are you collaborating with the United States, U.S. Virgin Islands University?
We have a memorandum of understanding with UVI currently, and we have a number of various articulations under the auspices of that MOU. So we would have had teachers as a very popular program for transfer, who would have done the Associate of Education at the college, who would have transferred to the Bachelor's of Education at UVI. That's very popular. Obviously, you would have a cohort of teachers who did a certificate in secondary education last year. In addition, we have a very robust articulation with respect of agricultural science. And right now we have 2 students at UVI studying agricultural sciences who came to them via HLSCC.
Awesome. Yeah. My next question is to the Honorable Minister. You spoke glowingly about the training and the educational levels that we are pushing for our teachers in school. Very, very commendable. But can you give us a little understanding as to where are we currently in terms of our teaching core? Are we at a comfortable position where we can safely say that we have good enough teachers to take care of what we need to do in our schools?
Is that a question of quality or quantity?
Quantity and quality, as you suggest now for me.
So thank you for your question, Kathy. And I think based on the statement, you would realize that we have seen a significant increase in terms of instructional quality just based on the level of achievement of our teachers. What I want to say is we don't have good enough teachers. We have amazing educators. And what we have done as a government is ensure that we facilitated support for their continued advancement. I want to be clear, right? Previously, an associate degree is what was acceptable to teach in schools in the Virgin Islands. Since I came in as minister, alongside discussions with my team and the ecosystem, we increased that qualification to a bachelor's degree in education or a bachelor's degree in a content area with a certificate in education. What that means is that a number of our teachers are currently pursuing on-the-job training while teaching, which historically is an amazing approach because they get to implement as they learn. But what it also means is that we're creating a pipeline through our student teacher trainee program as well as our teacher recruit program. In terms of numbers, of course, we're still currently filling vacancies. As you would see on the government's website, we continuously ensure that we advertise specifically in specialty areas, which is why I referenced in my statement as well that this month we're going to be having an engagement with our teachers because there's some priority areas that we need to close the gap in. That's in special education. So, for example, educational psychologists, speech and language pathologists, behavioral specialists, occupational therapists. These are some of the very strategic and key areas that we currently have vacancies in. And what we want to do is ensure that we upskill Virgin Islanders to take up those positions in 2 to 3 years. That is why the mission trip to the United Kingdom was strategically positioned and important. We have signed memorandum of understanding with institutions that offer specific courses in these areas as much as practicable. We want to ensure online access so virtual learning can take place while our teachers remain in the system. But in cases where that is not practicable, we will have to allow them to get study leave to go and study and return. Keywords and return. And so, Kathy, within the next 3 to 5 years, we believe that we will be better positioned in terms of the numbers, in terms of the quantity. But what I can say to you is, thankfully, due to the support of the Minister of Finance and the entire government, teacher salaries are amazing. And so they currently stand top in the region, even higher than the U.S. Virgin Islands. And so we have seen an increased interest in the profession, persons coming in from other professions, but we've also seen young people who have put up their hands and said, I want to get into teaching. And so, Kathy, within the next 5 to 10 years, I believe you will see a localized teaching force. But what is most important is that they would have been built through an intentional and strategic partnership with HLSCC, where we're purpose building our own education bachelor's program to supply all schools. So our context, our culture, and our collaboration is what will drive the instructional quality in our schools.
Just have to understand, you're not there yet with the numbers, but you're getting there.
We're not there yet, but we're getting there. But we are far further than we were 2 or 3 years ago. So we do have minimal vacancies. If you recall, a few years ago, I was talking about 50 vacancies in schools. We don't have 50 vacancies in schools. And we certainly don't have the level of resignations that we had before, or those sort of things. So retention is high, interest is there. And so I'm hopeful that with the pipeline that we are building, when you ask me that question in the next 3 years, hopefully I'm sitting in the seat, I'm going to be able to say proudly and purposefully that we have teachers in our classrooms, qualified teachers in our classrooms.
Mr. Moderator, could you permit me one more before
Go
passing
ahead.
on to my colleague? Minister, could you expound for me a little bit on the proposed technical school for East End?
Yes, so I'm going to give some details, but I'll allow my CEO, who is the chief technical expert on this area, to give some more details. We know that the Elmhurst High School currently is the main institution with about 1,450 students. We have the Virgin Islands School of Technical Studies with a little over 100 students. And what we want to do is ensure that we create the access and the opportunity to be able to ensure that our students are able to access technical skills, vocational skills, applied skills in a purpose-built institution. So we're seeking to build a TVET high school on the eastern end of Tortola. Currently, the Virgin Islands School of Technical Studies only goes from grades 10 to 12, which is senior secondary. What we're seeking to do is start that from grades 7 to 12, because the interest early on in TVET subjects is what drives individuals. If you think on it, if I have to go to Elmore South from 7 to 9, more than likely I'm going to want to stay at Elmore South. I'm not going to want to transition to the Virgin Islands School of Technical Studies. What building a modern institution also does is that it removes the stigma. There's currently a stigma attached to TVET, and it's because of the resources, in terms of lack of resources, lack of infrastructure to support these technical areas. Right now, we have to import skills. What we're seeking to do is build an institution in East End, in a central hub in our community, to be able to ensure that our plumbers or masons or air conditioning exports, the marine technology, the construction technology, the beauty therapists, the hospitality and the mechanics, all these different areas, we have a purpose-built institution with the right technology, with the right technical expertise in terms of educators to be able to deliver the labor force that the workforce needs.
Yes. Well, Minister said a mouthful. I don't think I need to say any more on that,
Please.
except that we are in the final stages of acquiring the land. So that should happen before the end of the second quarter. And then from there, it would be design and so on. We have already conceptualized what we want to, please forgive me, I talk with my hands. We've already conceptualized what we want to take place at the school. We know we want it to house up to about 700 students. So we're looking at the population of our largest secondary school and kind of building something that is just about halfway there. And we look forward to that institution really providing an opportunity from 7th to 12th grade for students who want to pursue those technical careers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Amy?
Good day, everyone. Allison with the BVI Beacon. Minister, my first question for you is, you mentioned that the Althea Scatliff Primary School is expected to break ground at the end of second quarter. Do you have any other information on the timeline of when that project is expected to be completed, anything like that?
All right, so I'm going to give a singular briefing on Althea Scatliff in partnership with Unite BVI, who is assisting us in support for funding. So I honestly just wanted to give you a tease and an update because for a long time we've been articulating that we were in the design phase, and I wanted to ensure that the public understands while the design phase took a lot longer than we would have wanted. What I will say is, when we see the school and when we experience the school, the time that it took in terms of the planning, the scope of works, the architectural drawings, the construction drawings, we're finally moving to a place where we can say that we are positioned to break ground. And so I will be making a more holistic announcement aligned with Unite BVI in the coming weeks so that the public can be fully aware of what the structure will look like when it will officially break ground, and also when we expect it to be completed by.
Okay. And along those lines, you mentioned the increase in investment for infrastructure is $4 million for this year. Do you have any additional information that you can expound on with specific schools or timelines or anything related to that?
So yes, my team, I have the benefit, you mostly see educators in this room, but recently we would have added 2 engineers to our team. And so they are working assiduously, finalizing our work plans strategically for 2 critical periods in the school year, which is Easter break and summer break. Of course, most of the works will be done during the summer. And so we will strategically see improvements to schools. What you would have heard me characterize in my statement would have been specific to schools like the Alexandrina Maduro Primary School, the Ebenezer Thomas Primary School, the Willard Whitley Primary School, the Joy Samuel Primary School, which last year would have received the most upgrades. So what we're doing is continuing those upgrades. So initially, as an example, we would have had the Francis Letson Primary School as the standard. Then we went to Inez Adams. Then we went to Joy Samuel. And so what we'll be doing is shoring up those additional 3 institutions in a more robust way, ensuring that in the tiered and structured approach that I mentioned, the additional works listed will be implemented. So during the summer, as soon as graduations end, we're going to see contractors out in schools, ensuring that that 2-month period during the summer is critically used for the advancement of our school infrastructure in the Virgin Islands.
And you talked a little bit about this idea of, bringing people back, educators back, right? Having them learn with the summer use with UK universities and stuff. But more broadly, I'm curious about this concept of brain drain of students going out studying and then not returning, right? Are you implementing any initiatives or incentives to help attract those students to return back?
So that's a very good question. I really appreciate it. I feel like you've been eavesdropping on our conversations a little bit, because we have been having some very strategic conversations even while we were in the UK last week. I have a mandate, as I have now returned this week and into the coming weeks, to sit with collaborative ministries, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Communication and Works. I'm going to get in trouble. So every single ministry, I want to sit with them, because I believe that what we've done in education has worked. And I think that we have to see how we can replicate that model in other areas like engineering, in healthcare, and so forth. So we created teacher trainee positions, which are high school graduates that say, I want to learn to teach. What we do is we position them with a seasoned educator, so they're not in the classroom themselves teaching. They're positioned, they're learning on the job, but they're also attending HLFCC. And then they fully transition to HLFCC after a period of time in pursuit of their associate and bachelor's degrees. We have seen historically that teacher trainee process works. Want an example? I have a few of them in the room, but I'm going to turn to my left. The CEO was a teacher trainee out of high school. She's now the chief education officer, right? I could point to principals, I could point to teachers who have gone through that process. So the investment is there because you allow the person to come into the environment. They're paid, but they then qualify and upskill and are truly paid for their qualifications. So they return because they've already been invested in the spaces. We want to similarly do that across the other ministries, so that we create that entry point in the public service, so that our young people understand the environment that they walk in, they see the challenges firsthand, and they go off to create the solutions that will ultimately fix those problems. So those roads that we keep talking about, those potholes, I believe my classrooms currently have the curiosity and the ingenuity to fill those potholes and to engineer our roads and our bridges and whatever else we want to do. Our healthcare system, our brain surgeon, whatever it is we seek to do, it's in our classrooms. All we have to do is open the door, let them in, and I believe they will come back and they will stay.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I have a question for Dr. Georges. Just so I understand fully, the education bachelor's program, that is the first bachelor's program expected to come. Am I incorrect in that?
No, that is correct. That's correct.
And do you have an idea of, I know it's in the process now, do you have an idea of, like, will it be available to students in the next school year, or do you have an estimate of that?
Well, one reason why I can't have to be very careful with my estimations is because it's reliant on an external body.
Yes.
And so it's relying on our accreditor, not a department of the college. We have done what we are required to do. And so now it's on us to await Middle States, or also known as MISHI, but to await Middle States response. Now, there could be any number of responses with respect to the program. It could be, go ahead for fall. That's the earliest possible scenario. Or it could be, you want to look at this aspect, the feasibility long term. You want to look at a particular course, or etc. Because of the nature of the accreditor and how wide ranging it is, it could be any number. It could be an operational question that they could have. They may ask us to submit additional information, or to have other correspondences with the ministry or the board, etc. So I really can't, give you any information with respect to what Middle States will respond with. So once we receive that response, we will then obviously either have to make additional supplemental information available to them, or it might be go ahead and then it'll be about liaising with the ministry to ensure that we can meet whatever timeline is appropriate.
And you talked earlier about a second bachelor's program for accreditation to go through that process, and then the process should be smoother in the future. Do you have an idea, or is the process for the next bachelor program Where are you in that process?
Well, we're currently working on that. So as you would imagine, the school year starts in August. So August 1st is Happy New Year for us. And so with that respect, we have at the college laid out our plans for the next academic year. And part of that, of those goals would include proposing a suite of bachelor programs to the Board of Governors as well as to the Ministry of Education. But as you could imagine, that proposal will be in keeping with a number of factors. First and foremost, the industry of the BVI would be a heavy indicator. So I think there's some easy guesses there in terms of which two programs will be at the front of the queue. Second to that would be the National Sustainable Development Plan in terms of where the BVI desires to head in terms of its development of its workforce. And the third, quite frankly, will be with respect to what resources are available already to the college. So those are three of the main factors, obviously. So the government's National Sustainable Development Plan, the local reality of our economy, as well as the resources available to the college. Because while there may be some areas that we desire to enter into, the cost of investment, whether you need specialized facilities, faculty, and so on, would then indicate to us which programs we retain our global partnerships to pursue, which ones we develop in-house, and so on and so forth.
Thank you. Are there any other programs that you're working on beyond associates and certifications, any MBAs or anything like that?
Right. So with Middle States as the accreditor, we are currently accredited to offer 2-year degrees and certificates. So associate degrees, whether they are associates of arts, sciences, or applied sciences, and certificates of achievement. Okay. So the first step before we can offer programs that are post-baccalaureate, which would be a diploma or a master's, etc., we have to have permission for the bachelor's, and so on. So it's a ladder. If we want to be able to offer post-baccalaureate or postgraduate programs, that'll be another process in the future. But the first step is to get to the 4-year award degree status. 4-year degree awarding status is the first step.
Thank you very much.
We have an additional question from JTV.
This was just to the minister. And there are actually two areas I would love if we can touch on. In a recent conversation with someone, it seems as though persons do not understand the initiative of the collaboration with Mr. Leon Parsons and working with the schools for the musical departments. Actually, what was said to me, I don't see why I have to come here and pay money to help government buy instruments for schools. And I know it's beyond just instruments for school. So if you can shed some clarity on that area for me, please.
So yes, first of all, I fundamentally believe that education is not just the responsibility of the government. Education is the responsibility of the entire territory, and the community has a role to play in that. Parents have a role to play in that. Businesses have a role to play in that. And so the approach that the ministry has taken is that while we have significantly increased our funding from a government perspective, we're also calling on the private sector to support and individuals within the community to support that mandate. So specific to music education, when we look across the territory, some of the individuals that sit in the highest positions across both government and the private sector, they are products of the music education program in the Virgin Islands. And I want to say to you that that speaks volumes. And so what we have done is that we have gone back to where we started. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Unfortunately, for some time, we were unable to invest in music education, post-hurricanes especially. The entire music department at Elmore South was blown away, if you remember where it was positioned. So that means musical equipment was gone, and that catastrophic event kind of made us take some steps backward. What we are seeking to do now is ensuring that we create access and opportunity again for our students. So in partnership with Mr. Leon Parsons and the United Jazz Foundation, what we have seen is a reinvigoration of music education in the Virgin Islands. You heard firsthand at the concert on Friday the 20th from the head of the ESHS music department, and she spoke from her perspective about how the professional development sessions with Mr. Parsons and his team, alongside the opportunities for access to instruments, alongside the opportunities for teachers to go off and train, alongside the opportunities for students to go across the region, inherently builds values, it builds discipline, and it creates opportunity. Right, Kathy? So I want to say that while government will invest, and last year we invested 100,000 in music equipment, this year we have 125,000 budgeted. What I'm saying is, I would love the private sector to come forward and match government's funding. I don't believe that's too much to ask. I believe that if we want to have a conversation about the anti-crime summit that we had and the mandate that young people put on us, what they said was, Minister, create spaces for me where I can develop my interests, where I can grow, where I can access opportunity. What we are doing with Mr. Dion Parsons and the United Jazz Foundation is creating opportunity for young people through music education. And what we believe is that many of them will take up professional careers in music, like Mr. Dion Parsons, a Virgin Islander, who is a Grammy Award-winning artist. They can become just like him. And so the reality is, Kathy, this partnership has made not just our teachers, right, but it has also made our students believe that Mr. Dion Parsons, who is right here sitting in the audience with us, and his lovely wife, that they can be just like him or even better. Dion, I think you want him to be better. And what I'm saying to the public and to the private sector, if you're listening, so far we've raised over $40,000 in funding, so we are well on our way. I'm looking forward to the end of the year saying that we've raised that 125, or who knows, maybe we'll raise more than that. But what I can say to you is the government will not stop. We will continue to invest. What we're saying to the community is help as well. If it's $10, if it's $100, if it's $1,000, it will help a child. It ain't for Sherry, it ain't for Orlando, it ain't for Haida. It's about the students and the children who have a dream that we must bring to reality.
And finally, for me, this may sound to some people as if it's far-reaching, but it's not. Food security. We celebrating Education Month and all of that, and we're not hearing that much about how are we encouraging our children with farming. I came from a background, the only country in the world that can feed itself. And that stemmed from something. When we went to school, there was a specific program in agriculture and farming. Every single Friday, every school went to a large farm and you had to cultivate. Mm-hmm. How are we pushing it? Yes, oh yes, yeah, how are we pushing food security? Because someone just said the other day, it's like, think about it, if something catastrophic that happen, if that guy should do something that affects us and we are cut off by Christ, yes, after 3 or 4 months we might be a little goodish, but thereafter, where are we? We have the capabilities to grow enough to feed ourselves.
So Kathy, I'll start, and if the CEO, I'm gonna really let her take this one. Kathy, I think it boils down to investment and it boils down into interest. One of the things we started to do to at least start the process is that we restarted school gardens. I went to school in Carrot Bay, and that community is heavily about agriculture and fishing. I went to the Isabella Morris Primary School, by the way. News coming on that soon. But we went out in the school garden every single day. We cultivated, we planted, but most importantly, we were able to connect what happened in the classroom into what was happening in the real world. So you're in science and you're learning about all these things around trees and plants and oxygen, and I could go on, but there wasn't a real reality around, well, what does that really mean? So we got our hands dirty and we planted. We've seen the reintroduction of school gardens, and we've gotten support from Green VI, and even within this agriculture month, as we proceed with plans, you're going to hear more in partnership with that ministry around how we're going to seek to deliver more modern ways of agriculture within our school system. We also last year gave a number of hydroponic supplies to the Elmore South High School, and they're about to rebuild a more structured hydroponics facility there on that campus. And I'm looking forward to throwing on the mandate to HLSCC. While I know we have the partnership with UVI, which, as we said, we have to strategically decide which programs we can advance locally, I'm looking forward to giving the mandate to both the CEO and the president of the college to figure out exactly how we advance this strategic area within our school system.
It's a pleasure when your minister knows her subject as well as this one does. The only thing I would add is when we talk about our robotics program, that is the beginning of innovation in agriculture. So, it has been touted that our children are playing with robots. And that's something that I celebrate, because as they are programming and coding and building robots, they are understanding industries in ways you and I may not understand. So while there might not be a direct connection right now between agriculture and robots, that's where we see the future. That's where we see them going. And so just to add to what Minister said, we have 11 primary schools with thriving school gardens that are supported by Green BI and the Department of Agriculture. We have a hydroponics farm on the Elmore Stout campus that, is growing in leaps and bounds. Just last week, I saw where students took it upon themselves to go into the garden and do some cleaning up and so on. We have a growing agricultural science program at the Elmore Stout High School, and the numbers are building every year. So while it may seem we are at the infancy stages, we're clearly not where the country you referenced is. We have strategically put things in place to make sure that food security is on our agenda for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, press members. Any more questions? All right, today's press conference is largely about education, but we also want to take some focus on Education Month itself. So I want to welcome Mrs. Olandette Craft to take us through that month item.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hall. Good morning to the members of the media, Honorable Minister, or distinguished hosts, colleagues present this morning. Today I am pleased to formally present Education Month 2026, which will be observed in the month of March, under the theme, Strong Foundations for a Future-Focused Generation. The theme is intentional and strategic. It speaks to our commitment to building a solid academic, social, emotional, and leadership foundation for our students, beginning in early childhood and extending through secondary and tertiary pathways. It reflects our focus on early childhood development, instructional leadership, student well-being, community partnership, innovation, and global readiness. If we are to prepare our children for a rapidly evolving world shaped by technology, global competition, and new career pathways, we must ensure that the foundations we build today are strong, equitable, and future-oriented. Education Month is not simply a celebration, it is a call to action, and we look forward to the support of the community as we celebrate Education Month. Yesterday we started in church, and I just want to take the opportunity to thank the Shekinah House of Prayer, and led by Pastor Diana Samuel, for always welcoming the Ministry of Education to their sanctuary. Right now, already taking place is the Street Doctors Initiative that is currently happening at the Veronica House up in Lower State, where we have young people interacting with street doctors, an award-winning charity organization out of the UK that has trained over 20,000 young people affected by violence. Last year, in the physical and psychological consequences of street violence. The Street Doctors Initiative is happening through a partnership with the Ministry of Health and the UK Health Services Authority. They recently completed a similar program in Anguilla that was very successful. And so we are looking forward to this 3-day workshop for our students delivering similar success. We also have partnered with Dr. Kathy McLean of the McLean Foundation to deliver professional development in exceptional education on March 10th for targeting educators to support neurodivergent students, focusing on practical classroom-ready strategies. We also have a parenting session on March 9th. Now, I know that's a holiday, but parents, we really want you to come out. We have childcare covered at the Eslin Henley School at 4 p.m. on March 9th. So parents, please come out and learn from the experts about how to support your neurodivergent learners. Also on March 10th, Minister would have mentioned this, we have the official opening of the Standards of Training, Certification and Watchkeeping for Seafarers facility on the grounds of HLSCC. So that's the STCW simulation, the simulator, sorry, at the HLSCC campus that will be officially opened on that day. During the week of March 11th, from that week, we also will have a Principals Leadership Conference. This is our second year hosting that conference, and it is becoming something that we see is making a marked impact in instructional leadership at our schools. And so this year, we are pleased to partner with Light Consulting, which is a local consultancy firm headed by Mrs. Lelia Burke, a former educator. She will be delivering a 2-day conference to our principals, deputy principals, and assistant principals. Both public and private school principals are invited to attend. We have the National Science Fair, and that, is the highlight of our education month, the week of March 16th to the 20th. We invite the community to come out on March 19th and 20th to see the showcase of student creativity in innovation, science, the arts, robotics, and STEAM. So please come out on March 19th and 20th. The other days are for setup and for the judging. We have 3 early childhood book parades. Last year, we had over 800 students take the streets of Road Town in the early child. This year, we've already have over 1,000 students registered. So it's going to be as big or bigger than the festival parade, somewhere close. But you don't want to miss it. Our students from pre-K all the way up to grade 1 will take the streets of Road Town, Virgin Gorda, and Anegada to celebrate Education Month. The dates in Virgin Gorda, March 10th, in Anegada, March 16th, and on Tortola, March 24th. On March 20th, we invite the community to join with the Ministry of Education and its stakeholders to celebrate Rep Your College Friday. That's a big deal for us. It's a big deal to walk around repping the college you attended so that our young people can see themselves taking those places. We invite the private sector, we invite the public sector, we invite everyone. I know that the store at it, have you replenished your supply? I know you all just had Spirit Week.
Well, for me, Rep Your College means Rep HLSCC. For everybody.
So we invite, come to the campus store, get your HLSCC gear, but if you want to rep somewhere else where you attended, Richard, this year I'll be repping somewhere else. So we invite you to rep your gear. Secondary students, if you already know where you're headed, because we do have some secondary students, you're also invited to participate in this event. And then on March 22nd, we celebrate our educators. The event is called A Cup of Gratitude, a tribute to those who pour into the future. It's an elegant tea party celebration that will honor our teachers and educators in the territory. And one of Minister's pet events is going to be a historic milestone for education in the territory. We have established a unified national student advisory body to amplify student voice and influence policy. The National Student Government will be established on March 24th. It is going to be the official territory-wide student advisory body within the Virgin Islands education system, creating a structured and sustainable mechanism for student voice to inform national policy and reform. So we look forward to that launch on March 23rd. Sorry, I gave the wrong date before. Make sure you get the right one, March 23rd. We have pre-primary sports on the 25th and 27th of March. And we also have the Let's Build VI. I'm sorry. Inter-primary sports, Inter-primary sports between that on March 25th and March 27th. Soon Altes Catliff will be back, Kareem. And you did the hair on your hand raised when Minister was talking about the new, because it sure did for me. Yes. Yes. Soon we will be back. All right. We will launch Let's Build VI on March 26th. And that is the scholarship program that we are opening up for MPT scholarships, as well as scholarships from the National Center for Construction Education and Research. All right. And Sommet Education as well. So there's over $200,000 worth of scholarships that are going to be available. Please look out for information about how to register. The event is going to be at 10 a.m. on the HLSCC campus. Minister mentioned the Meet the Minister event, where we're going to be talking about expanding the education profession with our teachers and opportunities available for upskilling and training. And what I am looking forward to on March 30th is the Living Legends Luncheon. I am standing before you because educators poured into me. And on March 30th, we will pour into persons who set the foundation for education. We're looking forward to recognizing educators who began their careers in the 1980s and celebrating their enduring legacy. And that brings us to the end. In addition to all that we mentioned, we have Teach for a Day. I didn't forget, I left that for last because I really want the community to support Teach for a Day. You can contact myself or Ms. Selwood, or our emails are on the flyers. We'll share them with the press. But you can also contact the school directly. If there's a school, your favorite school, your grandchildren's school, your god, whatever it is, you can go directly to the school. They are waiting and willing to accommodate you. And while we have specific dates listed, we are open to welcome you whenever you are available. Go in and show your support for us, for education and for our teachers. Good. And it doesn't have to be all day. It does say Teach for a Day, but you can, if you only have 1 hour, one lesson to spare, maybe you're a little intimidated about being at school all day, that's fine. If you just want to go in and teach one lesson, we welcome you as well. We want you to engage with our social media platforms. Like the Ministry of Education's Facebook page, follow us on Instagram, and join our official WhatsApp channel. There you will get all the updates, highlights, and reminders for Education Month. Education Month 2026 represents deliberate investment in our people, our systems, and our future. The work we are doing today is shaping leaders, thinkers, and innovators of tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You know, when we train to do these jobs as hosts and television broadcast people, they teach us to come to the events, but don't become attached to the events. And this is one of the most challenging jobs I've had, to stand in the corner and to hear this minister and her ministry deliver like this. And I've heard it in the budget address as well. I go between absolute smiling to like emotional feelings that they're doing such a wonderful job for the young people of this territory. And we want to thank you guys for that. Sometimes we don't allow our ministers and our ministries to feel a moment of pride, and you really should feel that way. Minister, as you continue to build the cadre of people in your ministry, I noticed that there are new faces among us in the room. I hope that you would take the chance to let us know of your new additions to your team.
Yes, most definitely. I want to take this opportunity while I am here to acknowledge 2 individuals that are currently in the room. They're not, I don't even think they're one told that's yet in the ministry. So I want to acknowledge the new Deputy Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Youth Affairs and Sports, Ms. Patricia Adams. She comes with a wealth of experience in organizational leadership and human resource management. And when we speak about the talent that we're trying to acquire and position, she's going to assist us in ensuring that we take our children from the classroom to the workplace. And so I want to welcome you, Pat, and I look forward to what you will bring to the ministry. I also want to take this opportunity to welcome Miss Deborah Hodge to the Ministry of Education. While Debbie has served at the H. Lavely South Community College for almost as long as I am alive, right? A little under that, about 30 years. She has now transitioned full-time to the Department of Youth Affairs and Sports, where she is the Director of the Department of Youth Affairs and Sports. So Debbie, welcome to the ministry. I have a robust plan for youth and sports development, as you are very much aware of. And we are going to be coming back out to the public and giving the plans, because I expect to establish a youth and sports month. That's how big and how bad we're going to do it. So I want to acknowledge you for the work that you're doing. And Karim, if you would permit me, just in closing, I want to acknowledge the entire Ministry of Education staff and team. I want to acknowledge my acting permanent secretary. Unfortunately, he is ill. He's been working too hard. So he caught that bug that is going around. So unfortunately, he's not here with us this morning. But I also want to take the opportunity to acknowledge the Chief Education Officer, the Deputy Chief Education Officer, and their entire team who supports teaching and learning. And I want to acknowledge the other arms and unit within the Ministry of Education. I said to my team, right, most times what you see are principals and teachers. You don't see the administrative arm of the ministry. You don't see the education officers. You don't see the accounts unit, the HR unit, the admissions unit, the truancy unit. I could go on and on. These are the engine that drive education in the Virgin Islands. And so while I support and I acknowledge the principals and I thank you, this month I want to pay specific attention to the education administration team in the best ministry in the government of the Virgin Islands, the Ministry of Education, Youth Affairs and Sports, the Warriors. I want to make sure that I say directly to you this morning, we appreciate you and we stand on your shoulders. The work that is happening in our schools is because of the work that you are doing in the office. And so I'm challenging you to keep doing that work because with good work comes more work. So I look forward to seeing the impact that you will continue to make as we continue to invest in education. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. You don't need my personal endorsement, but Pat Blaze Adams was my HR manager at Lime, so I will work with her anytime, any day. Trust me on that. And Deborah Hodge trained me for leadership, actually. She's the reason why I get up an hour before every event in my life to make sure I'm on time, because she never allowed me to be late. So I congratulate both of you as well. And in reference to that comment about education being the best ministry, I support and allow it because education also trained me. My first job in government was as an IO in education as well. So I understand that.
So Karim, before I go, just because you say IO, I want to big up the Ministry of Education IO and PR that's here. I really appreciate them. The message that we are getting out to the public is because of the work that they're doing. And the truth is, if they don't tell people what we're doing, people think we're not doing anything. So I want to make sure we pick them up. They're going to see a And of course, that includes the government information services. GIS always shows up, from the photographers to the videographers to everybody, from the director down. Thank you, because you help us to get the message out.
Appreciate that. Education Month began on Sunday, the 1st of March, and formally ends on Tuesday, the 31st of March. Following March, we declare that every day, every week, every month is the rightful time for education. The success of our education system will continue to be judged on the hard work of our minister, her ministry, our teachers, the principals, and ultimately the success of each student. Today we were all students, and math was not my strongest point. Yvonne Crabb and Gillian Douglas Phillip will tell you that. However, I learned something today. 57 million to 67 million to over $70 million, 35% growth in 2 years. I learned that today. 82%, 84%, 94%, all speaking of increase in efficacy of the ministry. CSEC up 42%. We were 143rd. Now we are 42nd. And then the big number is number 1 in the OECS. So I learned that today. 150 teachers are training, and they're spending only about 10% for that training. So we're covering the other part. I'm getting better at math as we're here. HLSCC is up 29% in enrollment. I learned English today. The A in STEAM clearly means we can compete with anyone and anywhere. So I learned that alliteration right there as well. My lesson in comprehension, is that as a former SGA president at HLSCC, that dream that I heard years ago about having dormitories is now coming to fruition. And I absolutely love that. I also want to pause with your HLSCC community as we remember our former registrar, Emma Baker, who transitioned, and we thank her for her, and the board member, and we thank her for her service. I look around and I had a lesson in reality today, because as the minister spoke, I watched the people in the room, the education ministers, shaking their head in agreement. I know Allah, I can't be lying. I know that. So I know that when she's saying it, she's saying what you guys have done, what you've worked on, and you guys agree. And I actually think that's a very strong encouragement right there. And then there's finally a lesson I had today in understanding that when you're building something so mighty as the Althea Catholic Primary School, it takes time. So we understand that very much. As an opening, I close with these lyrics as we continue to build for the betterment of each child. Our territorial song says, may they cherish this legacy. May they cherish the work that you guys are doing for us. Happy Education Month, and I will see you at the various events. And of one event, may I add, the great champion of education, H. Laverty Stout, will be celebrated on the 9th of March at Capoons Bay at 9 a.m. That theme is The Generation Yet Unborn. Minister, the entire program is written and directed by young people, people he would have never met but are benefiting from his legacy. That's the entire theme of that program. I am Kareem Nelson Hall, Chief Protocol Officer for the Government of the Virgin Islands. Thank you for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day and month.